up? Welcome to Behind the Lines at Scores and Odds. I'm Dean. Joined today, the one constant this whole year, absolutely smashing, annihilating, crushing the entire season. It's Dude Man Pa at Dude Man Pa, Ryan Reed. Ryan, we're going to be running through all the games. You're going to be giving your takes as far as the sides, totals, knocking out. Week 10, we're in double digits. This is when we say, man, the season's really flying by. Yeah, dude, and go ahead and brag. You're too modest. You're not going to do it. So I'm going to prompt you. Tell the people how well you've been doing so far this year on the show.
It's really been it's been quite a year. Last week I was 10-3, and so far the show overall is 84, 50, and 4. We're clipping at about 62%. I mean, I'll take that week in, week out. I don't know if the ship is going to stay on that train, but we got 7 weeks left. Let's close it out the best we can.
What are you saying? You're telling people to jump ship now? Just take your winnings and we're good, and then that's it. It's been a hell of a year.
Hey man, you're still going to win money, but it may not be as good as 10-3. You know, that's tough to repeat.
14 games in this on this slate. For week 10. Of course, 4 teams are on bye. We're going to start with a doozy. Oh man, this is going to be a gross one. The Thursday night battle here with the Falcons at the Panthers. Somebody's got to win. As far as the total, we're looking at 41.5 as far as the total, and the Falcons are 2.5 point favorites here on the road. I'm going to pull up Chief Meteorologist Kevin Ross' weather report. I know it's supposed to be a little bit murky. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on the fly, but you tell me your thoughts.
Man, Carolina 2-2 ATS with Wilkes. It's just a team that I don't really want to believe in or put money behind. They're in the bottom of the division. The Falcons are still tied with Tampa Bay at the top. They maybe still have hopes of winning something. They've been a decent team. They put up enough points that I feel like they're going to be able to cover the 2.5, and I want to grab it before it gets to a 3. So my pick in this game is going to be Atlanta -2.5 at -110 on several books.
For what it's worth, you want the weather report?
Sure.
All right. According to Kevin Roth, a somewhat ugly start to the week. We should see at least some rain in Charlotte tonight, and a moderate to heavy downpour is possible at any point. The lighter rain is more likely. Winds could also be fairly gusty, while sustained winds should be 10 to 15 miles per hour. Wind gust will be 25 miles per hour or higher. Combination of wind and rain should impact the passing game, though not completely taking it away like a stronger wind would do. Yeah, I mean, the total – I mean, I was thinking about an under as far as that game. It's obviously pretty low, and these offenses are pretty inept. The defenses aren't spectacular either. So I thought it was going to be uglier, to be honest, as far as the weather. We'll see. Stay tuned. That could change. Weather is fluid, but I guess it's not a lock under just yet.
So don't put you down for the under 41.5, or is that
No,
what you want?
I mean, if you're going to force a lean on me, that's what I would take.
Okay.
I suspect this game's just going to be ugly. And, you know, the Thursday night games, historically, that's just kind of sort of how – well, you probably know better than me. Or maybe that's just like from watching the games, they tend to just be – and that's what do you expect? These teams played football like 72 hours ago or whatever it is, right?
Absolutely. The weather's not going to help that either.
You mentioned, by the way, Atlanta. Not to derail the show right out the gate, but I'm curious, who's winning the NFC South? Do you happen to have any money tied to that?
In the NFC South, I believe the longest odds were the Panthers. I didn't believe in the Packers or the Buccaneers this year, so I actually have the Vikings to win the conference and their division, and that was probably a better pick, but the Panthers were like 24-1, so that was the only thing I had out of the South. I think I might have had the Saints too. Okay,
as far as Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina, you just took some shots because, like you said, Tampa and Atlanta currently tied at 4 and 5. Like, somebody's got to win by default, and yeah, I guess that's maybe we're getting rope-a-doped by old Tom Brady. He's just going to pace it himself. We'll see. Speaking of Brady, this is the next game on the docket, taking place in Germany. Seattle, the Seahawks, the surprising Seahawks, are in Tampa, neutral site, obviously. 44.5 is the total here. Tampa, 2.5 point favorite, which feels like a complete lack of respect for Seattle and maybe too much respect for the 97-year-old Brady. But I'm curious what your take is, because if I would have told you this line was this line like at the start of the season, you'd have a lot of questions. Like, how is this only 2.5? This doesn't make any sense.
That's why I'm going to bet the -2.5. It doesn't make any sense. Man, the Bucs aren't scoring very well. at all. I think they're only putting up like 16 points a game. It's still concerning, but I do think Tom Brady going through his divorce took a lot out of him, is his focus wise. The team really needs to put some wins together if they want to try and stay ahead of the Falcons in the division. We're going to take the Seahawks traveling. Man, the Seahawks have also just been unbelievable. I don't know that that's sustainable. The Bucs are definitely, I'm going to put money on it that they're not going to give up 30 points this week. So I'll stick with the home favorite -2.5 before we hit threes.
Well, to be clear, there's no home favorite here. There's no
neutral field.
Yeah. Tampa's listed second, so I can see how it looks like that. Yeah. So you got Tampa, you're locking in the Bucs?
Yep.
All right.
Did you have another lean there? I mean, Tampa is 7-2 to the under, but Seattle's an over king. You just want Seattle to cover? Even I see you can grab a 3. I would take a 3 maybe. But.
I feel like well, if you can get if you can get the 3 as opposed to 2.5, that's obviously a big move. Like again, I'm not a total believer in Geno Smith, but it's inarguable that Geno Smith's outplayed Tom Brady this year, right? Like you can't. I mean, of course, we care about this only.
It's facts.
And that Tampa offense has been rough, and they didn't score a touchdown last week until the very last drive of the game. Otherwise, it was a bunch of field goals and just a miserable game against the Rams. It's just a weird line because I feel like Seattle's getting a lack of respect, or maybe Tampa's getting too much, or somewhat of a combination of the two. And I would just take the hook. I don't think Seattle's getting blown out, basically.
I wouldn't disagree with you. This would be one where I'll take that -2.5 now. I do think there's going to be enough action on Tampa Bay to push this to a 3.5, and I'll try and split the 3.
Oh, look at you. That's the move right there. Is Tampa kind of a national team? I feel like Tampa's one of those teams that probably gets a little too much respect nationally.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I think it's going to stay that way until Tom Brady retires or has a season that finishes the way it started.
Yeah. Jags versus the Chiefs. 6-2 Chiefs here at home, 9.5-point favorites. 49.5 is the total in this game. Man, this is another weird one. I want your thoughts, but I have some thoughts about the Chiefs. But go ahead. What's your lean as far as the Jags in Kansas City? Big boy number, almost double digits. We're looking at 9.5 as far as the spread.
I do not like big spreads. Jacksonville is 1-8 against the spread on the road, but Kansas City is also 0-5 in their last 5 at home. So neither one of those sound super appealing when you're looking at a 10-point spread. So I started to look at something else. KC is on an 11-5 overrun, but I actually bet the under last week just because Tennessee has a decent defense. It was going to mitigate the KC offense, and Tennessee also doesn't score very well. I think there's a chance that Jacksonville relies on the running game with Travis Etienne, and maybe the clock slows down here. Jaguars aren't going to put up a ton of points, but if they can slow down the Chiefs a little bit, I'm leaning under 51, -107.
Yeah. Kansas City feels like they're I don't know. I guess so. Philadelphia and Buffalo are two teams of football, right? Who's the third best team in football? I know a lot of people say de facto it's Kansas City. Like Minnesota's 7-1, but they're kind of a fraudulent 7-1. Is that, or do you disagree with that? They legit 7-1.
I mean, it takes a good team to be able to win by those slim margins. So it's really tough to say that just because they've been winning close games that they're not good. But I see what you mean. Good. They don't really run away with anything, and they're not really dominating people.
You don't watch the Vikings and say that's a 7-1 team.
What's that?
You're not watching the Vikings and saying, man, that is a 7-1 team out there.
No.
Right?
I agree with that.
And ditto Giants 6-2. I guess we'll talk about them soon enough. But yeah, and just the Chiefs kind of disappointing versus Tennessee. Like you said, they've been 0-6 their last home games, and they're big dogs. Is that the line you threw out there? What was the quote you had?
0-5 the last 5 when they're favorites at Arrowhead against the spread.
That's surprising.
I think it's because they just get so many points.
That's probably it too. You think they'd blow somebody out, but yeah, and so this certainly can happen here. This is a good setup for it. But the public, did you have public numbers in front of you? I would imagine the public's leaning on Kansas City because nobody wants the Jags. Or is that something you have right next to you? I'm just curious.
Right here, we've got 77% of the bets and 80% of the money on KC -9.5.
Yeah, and is it in the book's best interest to report that? Is that legit? Those numbers? I always wondered. I don't know. I assume. Why would they give it? Why would they share that information?
That's a great question. I would assume it's probably legally required.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Because you're right. There's really no reason to give it out for free. So if they weren't being forced to do it, why would they do it?
And that's money or that's tickets? Like that's the total pool,
So
right?
the top line is percent of the bets, and then the bottom is percent of the money. So when we get a nice differential between the public tickets and then the percent of the money, then we know that that's usually sharper bettors pulling it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's talk about Houston. The Texans 6-1 Texans at the Giants. Giants are 6-2, kind of overachievers. 5.5 point favorites here. No, it opened at 5.5. Since moved to 6.5. The total at 40.5. What is your lean?
My lean is I don't like this game.
You got to pick somebody though. That's the gig, man. You signed up for it.
It is the gig. I did sign up for it, and man, this one's going to hurt. So I've really been going with the Texans to cover the spread pretty much every week. That's at home or on the road. That's going to come to an end this week. I see that it opened at 6.5. We missed that. We missed the good number. Now we're down in the 5s and the 4s. I mean, this is garbage. Unless it gets all the way down to 3, then I would think about taking the Giants back at -3. I really wanted to find an under in this game. So let's see. My official note is, can we get it up to 43? If it goes to 43, I'm definitely going to take it. And that's pretty much my strategy in this game. Watch these totals and let it bump up. There's tons of money coming in on the over. I hope it drives it up another 2 points so I can get a 43. Right now, I did not lay a stake on this game. I will keep watching. That's what I would like to do.
Fair enough. You're abstaining, basically, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, there's no. I have under 43 written down, but I don't want to buy that many points right now, so I want to let it move a little closer so it's cheaper for me to do so. I want to try and get it at -130.
All right. I feel like I just misquoted that line because I'm looking at the scores and odds page, and I was looking at it. It's down to 5.5, and I'm reading the open for some reason. So my apologies. Look at the screen, and don't listen to me because I goofed. I'm reading the wrong portion of the scores and odds page, and that's you can confuse me for a second. I'm like, that's a different number, and I just realized I'm reading the wrong thing. So my bad. My apologies. We shall power through and move forward. Pittsburgh is at home versus the Saints. Pittsburgh's a 1.5 point favorite here, and the total is 40.5. Some rumors out there that Jaylen Warren may replace Najee Harris. I saw some speculation from the beats out there for what it's worth. Pittsburgh's slight home favorite. Where are you at?
I don't want to take a spread in this game.
Slight home dog, I mean. Geez, I did it again.
So everybody jumped right on the Steelers at home +3. Tomlin is 18-9 in his last, whatever that is, 27 as a dog. New Orleans is 0-3 ATS on their last 3 on the road. And you can kind of see that right here in these numbers. It opened up as a -3 +3, and now we've worked ourselves right into a very, very close game. So for that reason, I went and shifted over to a total. I think everybody betting an under on this game is wrong.
All right. There you go.
All right. So Pittsburgh's only scoring 15 points a game. I get it. New Orleans is putting up 25, but they both give up in the mid-20s. I think we're going to be able to get over the 39.5. So I'm going to take over 39.5 in this game instead of playing with a spread. I do think it's going to be a close affair in Pittsburgh. What say you?
Do you ever bet the alt overs? Is that something you like to hit?
I like to get off the hooks. So absolutely. If it's going to be a hook right around a key number, I'm going to buy it so I can at least push.
I don't have a take. I'm going to abstain. I don't really. I was just thinking this is a good uniform clash. I think there's a couple good uniforms going at it. I don't know if the football is going to be great out there, but it feels like a good, the palette of the Saints versus the palette of the Steelers. I feel pretty good about it. Is that just me?
I can't say that I really ever do any thinking about the colors of the teams colliding.
You don't ever
even when they tried with the color rush, just doesn't bother me. Whatever.
Who would win in a fight? A Steeler versus a Saint? You don't ever in a pinch? You don't ever do that?
I'm going to take the Bumblebees, yeah.
All right. Lions versus Bears. Who would win in that fight?
Lions and Tigers and Bears. Oh my! That was the Wizard of Oz open for you.
The Bears at home. This one feels weird to me, man. This feels like this line should be bigger. The Bears are what, 2.5-point favorites that we're looking at?
Yep.
Or 3? Is
Yeah.
it 3?
It's teetering. It's starting to move to the 3s.
Okay, so depending on where you're shopping, you can get a -2.5, you can get a -3, but you got to lay a little bit more juice at 2.5. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, minimal actually. I mean, you can still grab a -2.5 at -115. It opened at -108. You can get the 3 at -105, but I'd rather win than push. But that is a 10-cent differential, so it depends on what you were angling for here. What were you getting at? You like the Bears here at home?
I mean, there's some recency bias here too, but like we've certainly seen the rise in the progression of Justin Fields. They seem to be using him sharper as well, giving him a lot more run options. Like it took him, I don't know why it took him so long to figure out. Like this is take advantage of this guy's big strength. Like and it's not even worth going back to last year, but last year they never put him on the run. It's just wild. It was malpractice, you could say, and the coaches got fired, obviously. And the other part of it is, and I presume you might have some numbers in this, but Detroit, home away, Detroit outside the dome. They are a disaster in the elements. You put those Lions outside, and they're in a lot of trouble. And who knows what's going on with DeAndre Swift? Like I know that doesn't move the needle. Running backs, whatever, they don't matter. And Jamal Williams is perfectly fine, but it's just sort of weird. I just think the Bears are like better, especially when you consider the environment. And I don't want to say ascending because they traded away one of their best defensive players, and they traded for Claypool. It's kind of strange how. It's sort of a mixed message, but I guess Claypool is kind of a long-term thing. I just think that Chicago should be a bigger favorite than Detroit. Maybe that's what the public is thinking as well, because I'm Joe Public, but
the public is with you.
Yeah, I don't get it. I feel like it should be like a 4-point line.
I like that because that'll fall right into what I want to do with this game. I agree with most of what you said. I don't know that I really disagree with anything, so let's just say all of it. The Lions they do perform worse outside of the dome, but they still do end up somehow forcing really close games all the time. Maybe not so much here in the last couple of weeks. This is a game where I want to take the Bears -2.5 now, and I'm going to come back on a 3.5 or a 4 later. That's it. That is the plan. So a 3.5. If it moves to 4, then I just get a better number at 3.5.
So you're trying to middle it? So you're talking about taking the Bears?
Yeah, I'm gonna middle the 3. It'll cost you 15 cents. So you could do that 6 times, hit 1 out of 6. You're cruising.
Do you happen to know, like top of the head, like how many games finish in a 3-point line?
That I don't have off the top of my head. I would be interesting to know. Let me make a note of that one.
It's more like what the odds are of a game landing on 3. I mean, obviously, I think more games are more likely. Some games are more likely to land on 3 than others. Just. You probably can get different stats depending on different lines, but that's got to be out there somewhere. Somebody's got to have access to that. Somebody did the data. There's spreadsheets.
Oh, 100%. I found it for during MLB season to see how many games were 1-point spread versus the 2, so you could do the +1.5 money line stuff.
What'd you find out of curiosity? Do you have anything
I don't remember those numbers off the top of my head, but it was lucrative to go ahead and bet the money line and the +1.5.
Yeah, I'm currently in Florida, and the people aren't aware, the viewers aren't aware, so I'm not able to bet right now. But when I was traveling, and I actually saw you in Colorado, I was a huge sucker for the run line. It's like, they're going to win. Well, yeah, they'll win by 2. Sure, why not? And it's great when you win it. It's the worst when you win by 1.
It's always in the last innings too, where the comeback starts to make you sweat.
Yeah, the walk-off homers that are solo jobs are the worst. Yeah, but all right.
Leadoff walks in the 9th.
Yeah, and then bunt them over, and yeah. All right, let's put this thing back on track. Start talking about some football again. Miami, the kind of somewhat sort of surprising Miami Dolphins are at home right now versus the Cleveland Browns. They are -3.5. We're seeing a 49.5 total, one of the bigger totals on the week. Thoughts as far as the Dolphins? I was talking about this last night on another football show, and I just thought it was an interesting point that was pointed out. Like, we know about the humidity in Miami historically, especially the first month plus of the year of the season. How hard it is.
Defense has died.
Yeah, we saw that. Like, in several off. I think Diggs was ready to collapse as well. But the other thing that Miami does that's kind of sneaky is they put the other team in the sun. Like, Miami's in the shade, and the opponent is in the sun. Just throwing it out there for you. Assuming it's sunny out.
What's the weather this Sunday, Dean? That's the real question.
I don't know. Let's see. I can check it on the fly. It's not in Ross weather report, which suggests to me that there's nothing, goofy going on. I mean,
So
obviously,
it should be a gorgeous day.
Yeah, I presume, but obviously we're recording this on a Thursday, so we'll see something may change on Sunday. But yeah, your take as far as the Dolphins at home versus Cleveland.
So this game opened up at 48. I see that it's getting hammered on the over, which makes a lot of sense. Cleveland's 5-2 to the over. The Dolphins have obviously been putting up points and have some firepower. Both of these teams are giving up points in the mid-20s, but I feel like that line really should be exactly where it is, right around 48, 50. So I'm not going to mess with a total here. But if we're going to have two teams that score the same, give up the same, and look somewhat evenly matched here, minus the sun and the humidity, I'm going to take the +3.5 for the Browns right now before it crosses that field goal number, if it crosses that field goal number.
On the fly, what I found is it's a picture of a sun, so I assume it's going to be sunny. 82 degrees and sunny, apparently.
Fantastic.
And humid. I hope you're sitting down. It's going to be humid in South Florida. I know you're shocked.
That's all right. They'll bring out the IVs.
You know what it is? Bet the Dolphins second half. Bet Cleveland first half, bet Dolphins second half. If you want to work it that way, because Miami trains in this, they're ready for it. But like you said, like Buffalo, you saw it when they came down earlier in the year.
I actually like that, Dean. I'm making a note. Dolphins second half, Dean.
Just like a general thought, at home, Dolphins second half, general rules. When the weather's like the way it is currently, not necessarily in December. We are powering on through. Next one up, the 7-1 Vikings at Buffalo, 6-2 Buffalo Bills. Man, this line is suggesting, right? 3.5. Bills are 3.5 point favorites. 43.5 is the total. We're being told here, without being told, that Josh Allen's not playing, right?
It would sure appear that way. That's a lot of points to give up. So it would seem that somebody has some information about the UCL that hasn't come out yet, and he's probably not going to play.
He hasn't practiced Wednesday and Thursday. I'm pretty certain of that. And the other thing is, like, once that officially drops, how much more does that move? Because I feel like Buffalo, you tell me. I would guess Buffalo's like 6.5, 7 point favorite in this game. But again, the Vikings have been good. Maybe 6.5 point favorite. And then Allen's got to move this line like a touchdown, right? For Case Keenum?
I think it's baked in, Dean.
You're saying if Keenum is announced as a starting quarterback tomorrow,
I think we get to like twos.
Oh man, really? Okay. I think there's still room to move, and that's sort of this is not a certainty, right? That Allen's officially out, but if it's announced, I think it's like, well, yeah, 2, maybe 1. There's still room to go, and then where do you stand right now with incomplete information? Because if you think Case Keenum's going to be the quarterback, I think you bet Minnesota right now. Take 3.5.
Yes. So I would take Buffalo -3 if it's available. I mean, yeah, it's Keenum. The Bills' defense is good. I think they can hold the Vikings. We talked about it before we started the show. The Vikings, when you look at them, they look like a fraudulent 7-1 team, and that made a lot of sense. They just don't seem that great. So can we get a home win here for Buffalo on the shoulders of Keenum, who's just needs to really hold it down and hopefully not turn the ball over and let the defense kind of do its job? I think it's possible. So my lean right now is the Bills -3. You can always go ahead and take the Vikings +3.5 and do a push win, win-loss with minimal losses. Any of those options would be great. It's incomplete information, so it's probably best to just sort of wait on this game and see where it's at later.
You got a revenge game for Case Keenum. You got a Stephon Diggs revenge game if you want to do a combination platter.
Oh.
By the way, Ross reports he's got a cold, breezy, 15-mile-per-hour wind, a few rain or snow showers possible. Not great, but not crippling weather either. What's the total? Yeah, 43.5. I feel like that's like the lowest total we've had in a Bills game all season. I could be wrong. That feels really low for a Bills game. That's telling you. It's screaming.
Yeah, it's also down 5 points. It opened at 48.5. It's getting hammered.
Yeah.
But that's what happens, Dean. So these numbers got hammered over the last few days, and this is why I'm saying it's a little more baked in now, I think, than you would initially think.
That's right.
When you see the notification that Allen's out, I don't know that there's really a ton of value left at this position. There's the 6 points gone from everything is kind of nuts.
Did you think about hitting it earlier in the week, or once you heard about Allen's elbow?
Earlier in the week, part of my routine right now is I don't dig through these lines until we get closer to the show. That way, a lot of the stuff that we have to say is more relevant, and the lines haven't moved too far, and we're talking about things that are ghosts.
Fair enough. All right, ready to move on?
Yep.
Broncos, underachieving Broncos in Tennessee. Ooh. Tennessee is a 2.5-point favorite and a paltry 37.5 total. What do you got?
Are they underachieving?
The Broncos? You're there. Yeah.
I mean, they're not playing well, but I'm not sure they're underachieving either.
Well, I mean, maybe should I name a player that's underachieving? Just
absolutely throw somebody under the bus.
I mean, I was told he was unlimited.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe do a few more high knees, Russ. I don't know.
Well, that was the saving grace of that game in London. Without those high knees, it would have never developed. Well, Dean, this one you asked before the show if I had anything that seemed like it was going to be my favorite play or a lock or something maybe we would put a little bit more of our bankroll towards. I think this is going to be that game. I think it's teetering danger as this under is moving pretty fast, but these teams don't score. They're just fine playing 15, 17 football, 14, 17. I don't know. I'm not sure this thing sees 35. It seems really low. Let's see. What do we got here? Denver points for 15, points against 16. Tennessee points for 18, points against 19. I mean, this thing just screams under 40. I'm going to take under 37. I see there's a 38 now. So obviously it's gone in the other direction, which kind of concerning with all the action to the under. Or maybe those people didn't have a number up earlier and now they've posted a mistake. So under 38, minus 110 is my pick on this one. What do you think?
For what it's worth, Schefter tweeted out today, Tannehill full participant in practice, putting him on track to start on Sunday. And I also thought this is interesting too. This is something I look at every single week. I deal with a lot of DFS, daily fantasy stuff. Of course, there's a lot of crossover as well. Check out Derek Hardy. Derek Hardy's The Blitz. One of the things he has there in the game level factors is he has projected game plays based upon like the speed at which the offenses move.
Yep.
This game is projected to have the fewest plays for the entire week, 124.5, and for reference, like the most to be 137.6 as far as the wiggle room. Seattle,
right in between 60 and 70 per team, usually.
Yeah, that's kind of the projection. But both these teams just play pretty slow. Tennessee's going to want to run the ball. Denver, I guess
Tennessee's not going to be able to throw the ball.
Well, Tannehill's back, but I don't know. They're still not going
to be able to throw.
I don't know who he's throwing it to. Robert Woods and Westbrook-Akina. Austin Hooper.
I mean, they're just going to run Derek. The Broncos are struggling to stop decent running games right now. Derek's going to have his easy 100 yards, 1 or 2 TDs again. And I don't know what the Broncos do. Don't really care. But I do think the Titans will struggle to throw.
Did I see him pop up somewhere on the injury report? Am I making that up as far as Henry? I might be making that up.
I pray that didn't come up.
I don't think so. I mean, it might have been like a missed practice, but like you're only really concerned about missed practice on Friday. Wednesday, a lot of times rest day, especially this time of year. So
if he's hurt, you can just lock in that under because there's just going to be even less points.
No, I mean, I don't think forget what I just said. I might have misread something, so my apologies. But it's it's bold to take an under on a 37.5, but I get it. They're just not going to score. It's a 2 inept offenses. 38.5. I shouldn't shortchange you a point. Colts versus the Raiders. They're kind of scuffling. They're definitely scuffling. Keep blowing leads. They're home now, 4.5-point favorites against the Colts. Speaking of scuffling, they've replaced their head coach with Jeff Saturday. We were talking about this one pre-show as well. That I don't like their offensive coordinator played some Madden. I think maybe some Tecmo Bowl back in the day. I'm not really sure. Although I don't know if he's actually called plays, with real live humans. But what do we have here as far as the Colts? Is Jeff Saturday going to get the narrative street win right out the gate, or no?
I don't think so. I think that he's spent the week battling questions of whether or not he should have gotten the job instead of preparing for a road game in Vegas. Do I really want to bet on Vegas? No. They burnt me last week. I took them -1.5 in Jacksonville, I believe. That didn't work out either. They burnt me the week before. New Orleans got shut out 24-0. It is what it is. I have zero Raiders love, but somehow week after week, I sit here and I say, I'm going to bet on the Raiders again. So, I mean, Indianapolis is awful. You can look at all the trend numbers. They're 13-1, 8-3 against the spread as a dog, blah, blah, blah. All those numbers were with Frank. Frank is fired. It is Saturday on Sunday, and it could be a spiral. So I'm going to take the Raiders at home. I wrote down a 3.5, which I see is clearly gone. But, just take the next closest number until you get to 6.
Yeah, I like the Raiders side too, but it is weird betting on them. Like laying points for the Raiders doesn't feel comfortable, but
No.
You don't have to be like faster than the bear. You just got to be like faster than like the slowest guy, and the Colts are like the slowest guy, right?
I like that. And that's a good analogy, and hopefully that's what we get, one step faster than the worst team.
All right, Cardinals, Rams, 40.5 is the total, which again, geez, man, that just feels so low. If you would have told me a Cardinals-Rams game coming into the season will be 40.5. Last I saw, Stafford was in protocol as far as a concussion. Murray was dealing with an injury, but I believe he did practice today. I do want to double check that in a second. Rams 1.5 point favorites here. Two disappointing teams. Somebody's got to win. Just heard that. Hearing it again. Who do you have?
Points. I like points in this game. Arizona playing better. DeAndre's back. The new Call of Duty came out. They lost 2 games. It is what it is. Kyler just can't put down the joystick. They were crushing on the road until they had a little bit of a hiccup, I believe, the last game or 2. The Rams don't look great. Stafford being out, I don't know, is a huge concern. He's not passing very well when he's playing. I think he's got an elbow issue, or is that what's happening? It's kind of just like lingering out there news.
Well, I thought it was a concussion protocol. It might be too.
Yeah. No, I think the elbow was from like preseason.
Oh yeah,
soreness in his throwing arm or whatever, but he doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
So either way.
Well, the line's a disaster is the problem. Like he's got no time to throw the ball. They can't block anybody.
Let's go back to the 40. It's too low.
It's supposed to be too low. In theory, like I said, it's the start of the season. If I would have told you that these two teams are playing in a game with a 40 total, you would have been like, what happened?
I'm still going to say what happened. And I don't care if LA plays a backup quarterback. I'm going to take the over 39.5. This is one where I bet that extra. I took the extra 0.5 point. What did I get that at? Tipico and Sports Illustrated. You could get 39.5 at -125, which I didn't think was a bad deal. These teams put up points. The Rams have struggled the last couple of weeks. They played San Francisco and then Tampa Bay on the road. It is what it is. Let's see. Arizona puts up 22.6, gives up 26. The Rams sucking, putting up 16, giving up 21. I think we just get over the 40. It's just too low.
Concussion protocol for Stafford. John Wolford is the backup for record, and it was a hamstring with Murray for what it's worth. He was day-to-day yesterday, but I think he practiced today. Just sort of note that. But all right, let's kind of power on through. We're taking too long in all these games. A lot of games going on. Cowboys, Packers, good traditional matchup. Packers are getting 5 points at home versus Dallas. 43 is the total. Another quarterback that looks like he needs to be put out to pasture. It was a good run. Yeah. So you going to buy Aaron Rodgers one more time, or are you taking the Cowboys -5 on the road?
Dean, I'm not sure I ever would have said in the last 15 years of my life, 10, 15, whatever, that I wouldn't take the Packers +12 right now. It's awful. So let's see. Dallas is also 6-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 7. Green Bay is 1-6 against the spread, 0-5 in their last 5. They had a backdoor cover against the Bills week 1 of the season. It's atrocious. Until I see something different, I'm just going to bet the other team. Dallas -4.
Is it 4? I thought it was 5. Did I read the wrong number?
DK's got a 4 right here. So
okay.
I actually had 4.5 written down. So it moved in the last hour. Or DK just posted it and wasn't available, because I see that we do have 5s popping up now too.
Where's the sharp money on this, or is it not clearly defined?
So the sharp money down here is we have 32% of the tickets on Green Bay, but that's equating to 54% of the money. So it appears that the sharps are going to take Green Bay to cover at home.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas is one of those, traditional national teams that, always tends to get probably not the best lines, right? It's a public team.
Maybe the play is to get the under here at 43 before it moves down. It opened at 43.5. It's taken a lot of sharp money. It's now at 43. You lost the hook that would pay you the win. You could play the push before you get hooked for a loss.
It feels like it's just going to be forget the gambling, like whatever. You can figure out a way to gamble and win at anything, but just an ugly week of football. Are you getting that vibe? Because that's the vibe I have. This week 10 looks like an ugly week of football as a general thought.
I would agree with that as a general thought. And then we have a couple of games that just don't have great weather, which made the good games even uglier. We have injuries that made nice games ugly. Yeah, all the way around. It's week 10. The books get sharper as they start to figure things out too. It's just it's going to be a grind.
2 more games before we step aside and get out of here. We got the Niners. The Niners home on Sunday night against the Chargers. We're talking about a 7-point line here, San Fran. 45.5 is the total. And I'm just quoting one. Like, obviously, you're shopping around for the best line. You can get a 0.5 point one way or the other. By all means, go for it. What is your lean?
I got 2 plays here. I'm playing both teams.
Okay.
We're gonna come right out with the middle on this game. So the Chargers 4-0 against the spread away. San Francisco 6-1 against the spread their last 7 at home at Levi's. I really don't want to play either way. So I'm going to take a middle here. We see that there was a -5.5 available on SI, which gave me the idea that I could probably move that to a 6. I was able to find a 6 at -125 at Tipico, and then I took the Chargers +7.5, -121 at Barstool. So I'm pretty much just going to sack a quarter unit for a chance to middle and win 2.
6 and 7 is a pretty good
7.5.
No, I'm saying, but you got, if it lands on 6 or if it lands on 7, you're in it.
Yeah.
You got both numbers to hit. And those are pretty good numbers to hit.
It's a good life. That was the best way I felt to bet this game.
I like it. All right, let's close it out. Commanders in Philadelphia. Philly, double-digit favorites, 10.5-point favorites here, 43.5 as far as the total. What do you like on Monday night?
You know I'm an Eagles fan, right?
Yeah.
You know I'm concerned that I see sharp money coming in on a double-digit home spread against the Commanders, who just, lifelong Eagles fan. Every time you write off one of these teams that's not supposed to stay in it, that's not supposed to win, you're undefeated. Everybody's high on I don't know. It's a Monday night game. Sunday night? No, Monday.
Monday. You got to bet with your head, not your heart, right? That's how you got to be able to separate those two.
Yeah, I think the Commanders are going to keep this close. So in order to do that, the Eagles are not going to be able to put up 27 points. I don't really want to take the spread at the double digits, as I discussed earlier. I do have a lot of action on the under here. We lost that hook. We can still push the 44 before we start drifting. I see there's 43.5s popping up on the board now. I'm going to take the under 44. The Eagles defense is good. The Commanders don't score. The Commanders can mitigate 1 or 2 possessions from the Eagles that were touchdowns in previous weeks. I think we can walk away with a win here, and maybe they only win the game by 9 or 10, don't cover the spread, but we could still get out with an under. What do you think?
I was just going to ask, do you have any general rules as far as repeat opponents, division opponents? Second time, I've heard a thing about second time around. I think the line's supposed to be, totals tend to be lower historically. At least that's the number I've heard in the past. This is the second time they're facing the Commanders. Philly handed them pretty convincingly 24-8 in week 3. Do you have general rules on this, or you don't care about that?
It's tough to beat a team twice in a season. And part of that is whatever you succeeded with in the first game is going to be what they focus on not letting you succeed in the second game, which would also then lean to the totals going down. yeah, once you've cracked your playbook and people know what you have, that's why some coaches save things all the way to the end of the year, just in that back pocket, so that no one ever sees it until the playoffs.
So what I've heard is it's tough to beat a good team 2 times in the same year. Are the Commanders good?
No, it's tough to beat any team twice in the same year.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's just I just think it's always interesting second time around, and like you said, like there's adjustments to be made.
I mean, the Eagles are good. I can't go past the 10.
But the other thing is, like, okay, Washington knows they knew Hurts was good and this offense was good in week 3, and they still know it. Yeah, you still have to stop it. Yeah.
Don't you think they're playing better with Heineke than they did with Wentz?
I mean, that play last week, the Curtis Samuel that won the game, is completely absurd, and your perception of that game would change. Heineke threw the ball up in 3-man coverage, 4-man, 3-on-1 coverage, 4-on-1 if you count the referee. The referee set a pick and knocked out one of the defenders. I mean, if you throw that, I mean, again, I know you can't throw plays out, and the scoreboard is a scoreboard, your record is your record. But I just feel like your read might be a little bit different. That one play was thrown out, and I think, if I remember correctly, that's what won the game, right? If you throw play out, Washington loses. Like that probably was going to get intercepted if the ref didn't get involved. You know the play I'm talking about, I presume.
And it allowed the cover. I mean, the Vikings still won.
Okay, so they lost. Okay, never mind. So yeah, I knew that there was. Yeah, see, that's I lived the DFS life, and I didn't play Samuel, so I was bitter about that. That's what I remember from that game mostly. And I always don't remember who exactly won and who didn't win sometimes. But okay, Heineke's playing better, but is that a high bar?
No, I'm pretty much just banking on the Eagles not scoring 30 points.
They seem to blow everybody out, though. They're always.
They do. So if Washington doesn't score, maybe they let up on the gas.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time this year, where they basically were never behind for a certain number of games in a row, and they basically didn't. They just go in autopilot in the second half.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. The Eagles have been dominating the second quarter. I think last week was the first week where they finally didn't win the second quarter. Is that what happened?
I don't recall.
I thought I heard something like that. So they've been scoring, I think, ridiculous. 70% of their total points scored have come out of the second quarter or something insane like that. It's been quite a bit.
Do you like any sort of exactas out of this? You're just giving sides and totals and things like that. Do you ever dabble in exactas? Would you, if you were to create one on the fly, is there anything you got? I don't want to force anything on you. I'm just curious.
I'll tell you what. So if you want an exact score or something like that.
Well, I was just give me an exacta. Give me a parlay. I don't know why I'm thinking exact. I want a parlay, a 2-teamer. Just give me your 2 favorite bets.
Oh, well, then we should just you want to tease a couple things? We'll add 6 points to that Denver-Tennessee total.
Now we're teasing. All right.
Yeah.
So that means
let's see.
That's insurmountable. You get to 44 or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, you need 3 defensive touchdowns and a kick return.
It would get it up to 43, which I think is really a decent play.
I don't mean to derail, the show, and I'm just curious. What's one of the
Jacksonville, Kansas City under 57. I would tease those 2 together. I would probably throw a third one in there because I don't do teasers though.
Yeah,
you have to put 3 of them together to get anywhere near even money if you're going to take 6 points. It's not worth it.
Well, they got the Wong teasers. You're supposed to tease when the numbers are around 6 or 7.5. There's certain rules to that. I don't if you don't dabble in that, but
I don't cross. You want to try and cross 2 key numbers with your 6 points, but take a 3 to a 9 is better than a 2.5 to an 8.5. But all of that is too much time invested for three legs to need to come through for -110 amount.
Fair enough. In summary, you did get your favorite bet earlier in the show. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it? Gosh, I know you said what it was, and now I forget what it was. Do you remember what it was by chance? I have it written down. You did say this is my favorite play of the week, and I put it in the back of my head, and then I just lost it.
Well, I think it's the one I just referenced again. Denver, Tennessee under, even though that was a 37. Did I really quote that as my favorite? It's kind of an ugly week. I might have.
It's a weird week, man. It's but you've been on fire. We're going to keep the momentum going. And
Denver, Tennessee. I just don't think there's points. I think that I really do think we could end up seeing under 33.
Where do the people tweet at you to tell you like what you won them a bunch of money or like you screwed them?
Well, you can do all of those things right in the YouTube comments, but you got to hit that like button down there so we can get some thumbs up on the show. I don't think we have any, Dean. Other than that, you can find every play that I just talked about on the show on the Scores and Odds app. And you can find every play that I'm dabbling in via futures or whatever else I'm talking about on Twitter at DudeManPA and also Instagram at DudeManPA.
You have an Instagram? Look at you. Look how young you are.
I'm trying to branch out, Dean. Trying to branch out.
The kids are following you on Instagram. I should get one too, probably. But yeah,
this is true. The kids involved me in Instagram. That's exactly how it happened.
That was Ryan Reed at DudeManPod. That was Behind the Lines at Scores and Odds. I was Dean at DFS_Almanac on the Twitters. We do appreciate y'all watching. Let's win some money this week. Good luck.
Indeed, man.